Hey guys, and welcome back to Edgar on Review here with Jay Gibson. So last week I watched and reviewed Back in Action with Cameron Diaz and Jamie Foxx, and this week I decided to choose one of the best movies on Netflix apparently, which is Abigail, a horror comedy. We're gonna see if it's good, okay? According to Wikipedia, Abigail is a 2024 American vampire horror comedy film directed by Matt Bettinelli Oplin and Tyler Gillett and written by Stephen Shields and Guy Busick. It stars Alicia Ware as the title character Abigail, alongside Melissa Barrera, Dan Stevens, Catherine Newton, Will Catlett, Kevin Durand, Angus Cloud, and Giancarlo Esposito. The film follows a group of kidnappers who capture the daughter of a powerful underworld figure and demand $50 million for her release, unaware of something more sinister. With that overview, with a bit of background in it, I'm excited to watch Abigail. I'll watch it, then I'll come back and give my review. But before that, here's the trailer.
You all came highly recommended. You know the rules. No real names, no backstories, no cell phones.
So whose kid is she?
A very wealthy man who's about to be $50 million poorer.
I'm here to make sure you're safe.
What's your name? Mine's Abigail.
You can call me Joey.
Do you have any kids?
I have a little boy.
See you in 24 hours.
Do you know what a pinky promise is? If you behave and do as we say, I pinky promise you, it'll all be over soon.
Joey?
Yeah.
I'm sorry about what's gonna happen to you.
What the fuck?
Shit, we gotta get out of here.
I think she knows something.
Guys? Guys?
What the fuck is that thing?
We kidnapped a fucking vampire. A ballerina vampire. Okay, how do we kill a vampire? What are we talking about, like Anne Rice or True Blood? You know, Twilight? Stake through the heart. Daylight is a big one.
All right, let's go kill us a fucking vampire. Ready?
What can I say? I like playing with my phone.
She's fucking flying!
Okay, so after watching the trailer, what do you guys think? Put it in the comments. What do you think? Do you have hopes out of 5 stars? What would you give this movie before you even see my review, or if you've seen it, what would you give this movie? Put it in the comments right now. Okay, let's begin. See you guys after I've watched this movie. Okay, guys, so I'm back. I've watched the movie. I watched the whole hour and 45-minute movie. It was a lot to watch. I am convinced these movies are just an hour 45 minutes for no freaking reason. This movie could have been honestly an hour long. Maybe an hour and 10 minutes, but like for the most part, this didn't need to be an hour and 45 minutes. The writing and the acting is not necessary for it to be an hour and 45 minutes, and the plot is not necessary for it to be an hour and 45 minutes. It's a freaking vampire movie. Like, you've seen them one, you've seen them all. I will say with this movie, Abigail, their vampire theme is a bit different. It's a little bit original, I would say. So let's start from the beginning. We see Abigail just practicing in her ballet outfit in a theater, empty theater. And that's the beginning of it. Then the following scene, you see the other main characters, which is, what's her name? Melissa Barrera, who we'll call her Joey. The ringleader who got all of them together, the whole scamming group, the whole criminal activity group, to kidnap this young lady, who's Abigail, the young ballerina. His name is Frank. And then we'll have Lamont. Lamont is the guy who gave them the job. He's not really in this movie, but like his name is kind of important in here. The other characters, I really don't remember their names, so we're just gonna call them token black guy, gonna be black guy, I'm blonde, and big guy. If you watch this movie, you're gonna know exactly who I'm talking about. After Abigail finishes dancing and practicing, the kidnappers basically go to her house and prepare to get her. Abigail leaves the theater, goes to her mansion, lays in bed a little bit. The kidnappers come and they put their hand over their mouth. She stabs one in the hand. One of the other kidnappers comes and put their hand over her mouth so no one can hear her screaming. And they shoot her up with some kind of something that knocks her out, makes her fall asleep for a little bit. They throw her in a van, and as they're trying to get away, they see someone pull up and they think it's her father. They leave. They don't get caught. They go to the safe house where Lamont, the guy who gave them the job, he lets them know, yep, you guys will get $50 million for this job. We'll give you fake names. And he gives all of them fake names, but so they stop asking who each person is. He tells them, okay, stay here until we get the negotiations going, and her father will pay the $50 million. Again, they still don't know who her father is. Lamont leaves because, again, he's the boss, and the others are in the building, and they're just sitting there, talking to each other, annoying each other, essentially. It's filler. They ask Joey, who's Melissa Barrera's character, okay, look, if you know so much, tell us about ourselves. Tell us who we really are. And she goes to each of them and tells them who they really are because, she's not like other girls. She is smart and cunning, and she's very aware of her surroundings and who people may be. That's kind of the vibe it gave from that. Not really add much to the plot, to be honest. After Frank, who apparently was an ex-cop, who is the ringleader of the group, is rude to her, she says, I'm gonna go check on the kid because he calls her a junkie because he's a cop and he knows the junkie when he sees one, and she has candy all the time. He doesn't want to share her candy. And so that's why we know she's a junkie, which apparently by her expression, he's right. She leaves and checks on the kid, Abigail, and Abigail has to take her blindfold off. Joey puts her shiesty, is what we call it in America. Joey puts her shiesty up, her ski mask, and takes the blindfold off, switches the handcuffs so Abigail's a bit more comfortable. Joey talks to Abigail and says, no, I promise, no one's gonna hurt you, pinky promise, all that jazz. She talks about her son with Abigail a little bit because Abigail guesses she has a son. Abigail names the son Justin. She goes back downstairs to ask them, you guys don't know who her father is? Who is her father? We're trying to figure out who her father is. And they just ignore it. We don't need to know that. Abigail essentially insinuates to Joey that I'm so sorry for what my father's going to do to you. And so that's the reason why Joey goes downstairs and tells everyone, hey, can we find out, why don't we know who her father is? Because she insinuated that her father was going to be violent to us. So that makes Frank go upstairs to Abigail. And when he goes in there, he's shocked because she doesn't have her blindfold on. She sees his face. So he puts the gun up to her and she's like, did you see my face? What color are my eyes? Did you see my face? And Abigail's crying, saying, no, I did not see your face, because she's a child. And she's like, no, I didn't see your face. I promise I didn't see your face. And then he's like, who's your father? Tell me who your father is. And she says, my father is something Lazar. And he stops in shock. And he leaves, goes downstairs, grabs his bag, saying, I'm leaving. I'm getting the heck up out of here. Goes to the door. Before he can get to the door, everyone comes to him and like, what are you doing? And he was like, do you know who her father is? Her father is Lazar. He's like, I'm out of here. You guys should leave with me. They're like, oh, what? Lazar? The only person who doesn't know who Lazar is, I believe, is the blonde. She doesn't know who he is because she's a tech whiz and she's the hacker of the group. And she's like, who is that? And he's like, you don't know who Lazar is? Are you crazy? Essentially, they go over the lore of Lazar. I heard he, do this. I heard he was a myth. And Frankie was like, no, he's not a myth. He's real. Lazar is a real person, and he is the real deal. He'll pay up, and it'll be worth it because we can start over, and we can get a whole new identity. $7 million each, because there's 6 of them. Again, there's Joey, Frank, the big guy, the token black guy, the blonde, and the wannabe black guy. $7 million each. I don't know if that adds up right, because I guess a few $1 million left over to pay Lamont, the boss. So they say, yep, we're going to all stay. So they agree to all stay. They go around the house. They do nothing, I feel like. They just look around the house. Joey finds a library that must mean something. So it's a grand, big library. And so she finds it. Nothing happens there. She goes about her life, and she just keeps walking around. And her and the black guy, token black guy, they kind of hit it off a little bit and said, we'll have each other's back, right? Yeah, we'll have each other's back. Again, still nothing happening. The wannabe black guy, he scares the blonde girl in her room. She kicks him out because the wannabe black guy is a bit slow. And he sounds like he's drunk all the time, or he's just, I don't know. Who knows? Goes to the kitchen. He hears something because the door opens a little bit, going into a greenhouse kind of garage area from the kitchen. Again, this is a mansion. That's a safe house. So he goes in that area, sees a bunch of rats. He gets scared, and he starts walking back. and then something grabs him and essentially kills him. Hearing screaming from him is the blonde girl because he just scared her in her room. And she's like, what? So she goes downstairs to investigate what was going on. And upon her investigation, she doesn't see anything in the greenhouse / garage area. So she goes back to like the kitchen and she sees him sitting there with his back turned to her. And she touches him. She's like, hey, and his head falls off. So he got decapitated. She screams. The big guy comes to her and she yells at him, go get everyone else. Everyone else comes and they say, what the heck happened? Like, you just found him like this? She's like, yeah, I just found him like this. And then Joey's like, you know what this looks like, right, Frank? Frank is like, an animal attack. So they assume that Valdez, I think his name, who is Lazar's like right hand, who's like always killing everyone. They said, oh my gosh, Valdez must be in here. Like he's secretive and he kills everyone, tortures everyone. Like that's part of the lore of Lazar, who's the main crime boss of the world. So they're like, okay, we have to go check on the girl. Maybe Valdez has got her and like that's how we'll know. So they go upstairs, they open the door really quick and close it. And they see the girl is still like there laying down. So they realize, okay, maybe Valdez is here, but he hasn't like contacted the girl, maybe. So they go downstairs, try to hatch a plan, and she just goes up and talks to the girl, Joey, and says, hey, like, are you sure no one's been in here? Are you sure no one's been in here? And she's like, no one's been in here, I promise. And she's like, pinky promise that no one's been in here, or like, you aren't hiding any secrets from me. And the little Abigail is like, actually, the guy with the glasses, who is Frank, he's actually Valdez. She's playing mind games, y'all. And she goes and finds the token black guy and tells him, like, yes, he's Valdez. He's Valdez. Goes, okay, you look that way, I'll look this way. And like, if we see anything, we'll come back to each other, okay? A minute later, the token black guy's walking. Guess what happens? He gets bitten up. Joey doesn't see it because, again, she's walking and she just hears him squirreling a little bit. She turns around. She sees him just standing there. She goes up to him. He falls a little bit on her. She runs downstairs. That's when she confronts him with a gun, everyone with a gun, because she's like, they're against us. They are the bad guys. Frank is obviously Valdez. They almost have a shoot off. They say, okay, well, we have to beat the information out of this little girl Abigail then. So the big guy goes upstairs saying, sorry, this is my job. He goes up to her. They all run upstairs. Joey goes upstairs to stop him, of course. They start arguing with each other because they're like, what the heck? Like, no, we can't do this. We can't do this. And then while they're arguing, Abigail's pulling off her cuffs, and we see that she's a vampire. And she jumps up and tries to attack them. They all run out of the room, lock the door. Also, I forgot to mention that the house is gated all the way up. They had a gate in front of the door. They try to open it, and that forces the emergency locks to lock all the windows, and just things just start slamming down like gates. So they can't actually get out of the house. The house is on lockdown now. So they're all freaking out about Abigail being a vampire. They don't know what to do. And they say, okay, what do we do? What do vampires hate? Like, guys, think. The blonde girl goes, even though she's a tech whiz, to the kitchen and grab garlic. She ends up grabbing onions, and she doesn't realize, like, that's onions. And I'm like, okay, how is she a tech whiz hacker, but she doesn't know the difference between onions and garlic? It's just the dumb blonde trope, apparently. It's supposed to be funny, but I was like, giggle. The rest of them grab steak, and it's like, oh yeah, cross bamboo can hurt her. Like, maybe all of this works. They said, okay, now we're going to split up and look for her. And they find her dancing in like mini stage in her mansion with the decapitated body of the wannabe black guy. She's like, oh, sorry. And she attacks them all like jokingly, because I guess she wants to just play with them and like scare them a little bit. They all try to use their different scare tactics. Obviously, the garlic doesn't work because she like wipes it on her nose and sniffs it, and the cross doesn't work, so she stabs the big guy with his cross, and the steak, she doesn't get scared of that, and she stabs the guys with the steak. So none of these options are working well for them at all. They all came back down because Joey didn't go. Joey told them that, hey, she's going to try to scare you guys. This is a trap. Don't go up to her. But they went up, and she said, I'm staying here. So she stayed downstairs. They come running down, all, hell-bent and in pain. Joey says, like, see, I told you guys. And she said, this is the only thing that's been proven to work, and that was the injection that they did in the beginning to kidnap her from her house, to bring her to this safe house. So they were like, how does it work? Like, I'm sure she was just faking it. She's like, no, I checked her pulse. She was actually out. I don't know why this works, but it worked on her. So we need to get her so we can inject her with this, and then we can trap her and put her in a cage or something. So that's the plan. That's what they do. They split up. They're looking. Finally, she scares one of them, the big guy, and he starts running away from her while she's dancing, running to him as like a ballerina would do, apparently. It's supposed to be a comedy. It's supposed to be funny. Again, I have not laughed yet. And she chases them all the way downstairs, essentially, and they're all scared. And she gets on top of Frank, and she tries to get him, and they try to like hold her down so they can inject her. Joey gets like knocked to the side, and so the injection falls over into another gate, and so she has to try to get her hand, of course, stereotypical, has to try to get her hand in the gate to get the injection. The blonde girl tries to stop Abigail and picks her up a little bit and tries to hold her so they can get her, and Abigail bites her. Nasty scene. And the blonde girl is like freaking out a little bit, and then they finally get the injection. Joey, she grabs it. They're holding her down. They get Abigail. As Abigail wakes up, she's in the cage. Abigail essentially like plays mind games with them and said like, ha ha ha, you guys are so dumb. That stereotypical stuff. There's really nothing important said here. She essentially said, if any of you open the gate, I'll let you survive. Now they try to all go find the exit, but someone needs to stay and watch Abigail in the cage. Frank says he'll stay. One girl who got bit, Joey, and the big guy, they're all alive. So they leave to go find the exit or try to find a way out. Abigail makes a deal with Frank while they're alone. He's like, yep, okay, just tell me how to get out of here. She's like, yep, if you go to the library, look for this book title, and that will be your way out, and that's the only exit out of this house. And he's like, okay, thanks. And then he starts leaving. She's like, oh, I thought we had a deal. You have to let me out. And he goes up to the cage. She's like, oh, you thought we had a deal? Huh, you're a stupid child. No, we don't have a deal. She laughs a little bit, and he's like, what are you laughing at? And as he's like in front of the gate, she basically slams the cage open because, again, she has super strength because she's a vampire. I don't know why they thought that cage would hold her. As he's about to get him, Joey, the big guy, and Blondie, they all arrive. And Joey, she breaks open some wooden like window. Sunlight shines through. And as she's on top of Frank, the light hits her and her hand explodes. That was a gruesome scene, and Abigail hides away from the sun, and she starts screaming because she's in pain, of course, because her hand exploded. But we see that her hand is growing back, so it's only temporary. She's like a lizard. As her limb is growing back, and she's in pain, excruciating pain at that, Joey, the big guy, Frank, and the blonde girl, they all run to the library that Joey originally found while she was roaming the mansion. And in that library, they have like a big window, and it has sunlight. So like, okay, we're safe here. But Frank remembers what Abigail told him to go to the library, and there's a book, and he finds the book, and he's just like, ha ha ha, I'm smarter than everyone. And the book is just a book. It's not a secret key, or it doesn't unlock anything. It was all a lie. So they're just stumped and stuck, and they said, okay, well, Abigail's gonna wait for us until the sun goes down. Like, we need to figure out a way to get out of here. Longer remembers that, oh my gosh, I can reset. I just need to find the power bank for the whole house, and I can just pull it, and we can just reset everything, and all the gates will come up, and we can get out of here. They all go looking for this power bank, whatever, that should be in the house. Blonde girl and big guy go together, and Joey and Frank kind of go the same way. And as they hit one area, blonde girl and the big guy, apparently, because Abigail bit the blonde girl, she can now become Abigail's minion. And so Abigail takes over her body. All of a sudden, blonde girl is a vampire. It's very complicated, but essentially the blonde girl's a minion, and so it's like kind of like a puppet. She's Abigail's puppet, so everything Abigail does, the blonde girl does. So there's like really no difference. The blonde girl is not fully conscious of what's going on. She gets her vampire teeth, all that jazz, and she bites the big guy really badly and kills him. Abigail still wants to play, of course, so Abigail says through the blonde girl, oh, guys, help. She's here. She's here. They get there, Frank and Joey, and Abigail, still through the blonde girl, essentially is like, oh, come see. Like, she got him. And luckily, Joey's smart in the scene. And she's like, no, come over here. Let's go. Let's talk about this, blonde girl. And the blonde girl goes and tries to chase them, and Joey immediately knows. And so Frank and Joey run, and they run back to the library. And as they get to the library, there's a little bit of sunlight, and Joey pulls up a tea pan that is silver and hits the sunlight to the blonde girl, and the blonde girl just explodes. Very gruesome, and just blood goes everywhere. Blood and guts everywhere. After that scene, all of a sudden, a door in the library opens up a bit, and they're both like, it's a trap, but they were like, hey, we're going to stay here and die. We're going to look at the trap and die. So they go to the trap and they go to like a security room, which their boss Lamont is in. And Lamont turns around, he's a vampire, of course. And Lamont tells Frank and Joey that I have a deal for you. Joey says, I don't want your deal. He chokes her up a little bit and like knocks her out. And Lamont essentially tells Frank that I've been working for her for 2 years and bringing all the bad guys that are messing up her father's operation to her. So that's kind of how they were wound up into this situation in the first place. And Lamont tells him, hey, you can be part of this amazing team. I just have to bite you. And Frank says, okay, yep, you can bite me. So Frank allows Lamont to bite him. And to turn him, he has to drink his blood. And Frank immediately starts vomiting all this guts and blood. And then, yeah, he turned. Frank is now a vampire. Lamont turns to Joey as she wakes up and Frank, kill her. And Frank actually stabs Lamont in the back with a stake, killing him and making him explode. Now that blood and guts goes over Joey and Frank. And Frank is like, yeah, that's for crossing me and setting me up. I don't play about getting set up. And Joey is like, oh, Frank, no, please don't. She picks up a stick a little bit. And Frank was like, you should run. Luckily, Abigail finds them. And they fight a little bit. And he essentially has power over Abigail. I don't know why, because Abigail's centuries old, apparently. So, you know, with vampire lore, okay, Abigail's older. She should be able to beat him up. No, that's not the case. He bites Abigail and sucks out her blood. Joey just decides to run. And as she's trying to run, she goes through the little maze to try to get out from that door that opens through the library. The door's closed, of course. She tries to open it. She's not strong enough. It doesn't work. So she sits down in defeat, calls her son up, and tells her son, like, oh, I love you, but she has to leave a message because her son doesn't answer the phone. Frank sees her, comes up to her. The door magically opens, or he pushes it open, and he throws her out of it. And of course, she's a superhuman now for some reason, even though she's only human, and she doesn't like break anything. And he just starts whooping her behind, up and down through that library, upstairs, downstairs, all throughout that library, like just whooping her. And then he says, okay, now you're going to be my minion. And he tries to push her over the edge of the library, so she falls to the floor and dies. And luckily, Abigail comes right in time and saves her. And Abigail tells her, I need your help. I can't do this alone. I'm not strong enough. Both fight him together, but I guess he overpowers them, even though he's a new vampire. And he puts a fireplace poker into Joey's arm, and so she's like stuck because she's in so much pain. And then he gets Abigail, and he sucks her almost dry because she already told him, oh, to kill me, you have to suck me dry. He doesn't suck her all the way dry. He just weakens her all the way to almost death. Joey, of course, is stuck still with that poker in her arm, and he pulls the poker out. And she's screaming in pain. The sound engineer in this, though, needs an award because it was gruesome to watch some of these scenes, honestly. Joey's on the floor, about to die. He bites her, says, you're going to be my minion now. She wakes up after being bit, and he says, grab the stake, because he wants Joey to kill Abigail now that Abigail's weakened. And he says, okay, now stake her. Then she, of course, backstabs him. Abigail comes over. She tries to stake him in the heart. She's not strong enough, so then Joey comes back, and they do it together. And before they stake Frank in the heart, Abigail tells him, it takes hundreds of years to master these tricks. You can't just do it overnight. Some kind of one-liner like that. And they stab him. Blood goes everywhere, and they just fall back because there's so much blood. Abigail and Joey are now done. Deal is done. She helped Abigail. Now Abigail will let her leave and go to her son, who she's trying to get back into custody anyways. Joey says bye to Abigail and immediately starts walking off. And all of a sudden, she looks back at Abigail to say bye again. And a man's hand goes over her shoulder. And it's Lazar, Abigail's father, the mean, grumpy crime boss who's also a vampire. And Abigail says, Father, no, she saved my life, essentially. And he ends up understanding, and he tells Joey, okay, leave before we get hungry. Joey leaves and excitedly takes out her lollipop that lasted this whole night and puts her lollipop in her mouth because she likes candy she doesn't want to share. And she drives off into the night. The end. Okay, guys, so with that, you got the overview. Now let's talk about the movie. So the overall acting ability of everyone, we're just going to give an average for everyone. Out of 5, I give the acting a 3 out of 5 because it was okay. It wasn't outstanding acting from anyone involved. Like, each character could have been replaced by another actor or actress, honestly. Nothing outstanding, nothing stand out. 3 out of 5. I would have said 2 out of 5, but I'm trying to be nice. We have to talk about the plot. It was okay. A ballerina vampire that tricked them into kidnapping her so she can eat them and play with them as like toys because she's bored and she wants her father's approval. Okay, that's a decent plot. So with that, the movie was okay. I give it a 2 out of 5, honestly. So thank you so much for tuning into It Girl in Review with Jay Gibson. I'll see you guys next week. Make sure you like, follow, and subscribe and comment below as well. Okay, ciao.